In anticipation for our trip this summer to Thailand, our family has spent hours watching travel vlogs on YouTube about this area. We've loved following so many different people as they showed areas of the city and things to do, but we noticed one thing missing. No one talked about kids traveling to Thailand. So we're adding in our own take on travel here, our tips on traveling with kids to Thailand. We also have another video that we've made that is our top 10 things to do in Bangkok if you're coming here specifically with kids. So check out that video if you haven't yet. But for this, here are 10 tips for traveling with kids to Thailand in no particular order.
Okay, number one, involve your kids in the planning of your trip. Our kids have loved watching videos with us and seeing all of the different things there are to experience, and it has been so cool. Like when we went to Koh Samui, by the way, we have so many videos of Thailand and things we've done, and we've got more coming, so check those out too. But when we went to Koh Samui, it was really cool seeing our kids look at stuff and be like, I saw that on the video, Kara and Nate went there, you know, like we got to see this thing already, and like they're a part of saying, I want to do this, I don't want to do that. And really, I think that just made a huge difference in them not feeling drug along, but in really feeling like they were a part of this whole thing. Ben in particular is one who, he's our oldest son, he's one who doesn't really get into stuff like that. Like he doesn't want to plan stuff. He just kind of goes with the flow and just does what he's told to do and that kind of thing. But this made it so he got to really like dig his hands in and feel like he had ownership over the trip. I think that was really important, kind of wherever you go, not just Thailand.
And I'll add to that our kids are 4, 6, and 9 at the time that we traveled here. So even at those young ages, they really enjoyed being a part of that.
Yeah.
All right, tip number 2 is prepare them ahead of time for eating spicy food. We took a few months before our trip and gradually prepared food at home a little bit more spicy every time just to get them used to it and get their palates able to handle it. We made sure that we ordered spicy food from restaurants at home before we left. They got used to eating just whatever was put in front of them. Like, honestly, I can't imagine what this trip would have been like if our kids were the type of kids who only ate like chicken nuggets and french fries the whole time. It would have been absolutely miserable. Yeah, there are some places that you'll have the option to say, oh, no spice, but most places, we didn't even know what we were ordering. We would just walk in and point to a picture on a menu and say, let's try that. So you have to just prepare your kids and teach them to be respectful and to just eat whatever's in front of them.
Most Thai people also understand that kids are kids and that they don't really love spicy stuff, because Thai kids have a hard time with it too growing up.
Especially in the touristy areas.
Yeah, and they'll help you out, they'll do some stuff. But really, like in America, our whole mindset, or really in the West in general, our mindset is like, I'm gonna get it my way and I'm gonna order it this way and change this and do that. And that's not how it works here, and it's really rude to assume it does. Yeah. Basically, you get whatever's in the giant wok with all the rest of what everyone else gets.
And they don't have kids meals. Like, unless you go to McDonald's, an American place, a Western place, like, you're not gonna find like a kids meals prepared specifically for children.
Yeah. So here's our pro tip for food. Basically what we did almost everywhere we went, there's 5 of us. I like eating. Not a secret, but we would basically get 3 different meals, sometimes 4 depending on the portion size, but those 3 meals would feed the 5 of us with 3 kids and 2 adults. So we would kind of share some of this, like some of that. We had a rule that our kids tried everything once, and that's just us. We want them to be a little bit more adventurous, and that's made it so that a trip like this is doable. But they got to eat some of this and be like, oh, I hated that stuff. Okay, great, you tried it, that's good. You know, this was too spicy. And we've been here for 2 months, and by the end of the 2 months, all of our kids can handle a level of spice that they would have cried at in America. Like, it really is not child abuse to get kids to eat spicy stuff. It just takes some time to work your way up to it, just like adults. So
we also bribed them with fruit smoothies. So we pretty much bought fruit smoothies at every restaurant we were at so that there was a smoothie there for them. And if they tried everything, then they got to have some smoothies.
I also bribed her with iced coffee, so it works for adults too.
It works for adults too.
Yeah. Number 3 is being culturally sensitive. Now that goes for adults also, but kids just naturally do things that don't make a whole lot of sense. They're kids. So little things like kids not pointing, kids like instead doing the kind of like the thing like this that's responsible in Thailand, and like pointing with your hand up like this, not showing your feet. You know, adults, you might cross your legs and it's not a big deal, but when a kid lays down and kicks their feet up, like it's just really rude. People don't usually touch heads, and kids will just like grab, like little things like that. You just need to get them to learn these little tiny tips of like how to be respectful. Another big one is temples. Going into temples and saying, why are those people doing this? Why are they burning that incense? Why are they on the ground? Like, those are great questions. And we've loved answering our kids' questions and helping them experience this culture and explain why Buddhists believe this and why we as Christians believe this. It's great questions. But I think the biggest thing is you don't want to be disrespectful to the people as they're worshiping. So you have those conversations outside. Taking off your shoes before you go to temples is really big. Temples are just like the thing to see in Thailand, and you have to be culturally sensitive just not to hurt feelings and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I would say just to add to that, the one thing that we taught our kids to do that was really helpful was we just taught them to save all of their questions for when it was just us as a family. So even if you're walking down the street and there's, a homeless person on the side of the road, them not saying, why is he laying there? But saying, hey, any questions you have, just ask mom and dad when we get in the car.
Yep. And those questions turned into a lot of really great things for us. Like there was a homeless guy in Chiang Mai who we got to know pretty well, and we brought him pizza and we brought him, the beds in Thailand are absolutely rocks. Just all of Asia, they're just solid rock. So we bought a mattress pad because we were here for a while, and at the end of that, we were able to give that mattress pad to this homeless guy, and they knew him, his name is Tom, and we went up to him and got to pray for him and just tell him that we loved him and we're there for him. And like that comes from those great questions behind the scenes. If all you're doing is saying, shut up, don't say that, then you're gonna miss a lot of those opportunities.
Yeah. Okay, tip number 4 is this one. Tuk-tuk drivers are liars.
You can't just say that. You have to expound. I mean, I know I said that in the other video, the Bangkok one, but you have to keep going.
I mean, that's just it. They're okay. All right. Tuk-tuk drivers are safe people. I'm sure a lot of them are really, really kind people and they love their families and all of these things. But when it comes to dealing with tourists, in Bangkok especially, and in like really touristy areas, they just lie to you nonstop. Like they're trying to make money, right? They're trying to get you to go further than where you want to go, or they're trying to take you somewhere different. They'll tell you that, if you get in a tuk-tuk and you say, oh, we want to go to, this museum, they'll say, oh, that closes in 30 minutes. You don't want to go there, you want to go here. And then they'll lead you to go somewhere that's like 45 minutes across town. So just be careful of tuk-tuk drivers. Make sure that you look ahead of time before you walk up to them and you know where you want to go, you know what time it closes, you know how much it costs to get in, all of those things. And just walk up with confidence, and when they say, oh, no, it's closed, just say, well, we want to go anyway. Can you take us there?
Yeah.
Or go to the next tuk-tuk driver.
And they're pretty safe. I mean, they're as safe as traffic in Thailand gets. It is not safe being on the road in Thailand. It's just not, and you got to get over that. But the tuk-tuks are safe. Like, they're good people. They're trying to get that extra 20% of the boat ride that they trick you into getting. Watch our other video because we got tricked. Little things like that. Like, we actually had one tuk-tuk driver that I walked up to. I was like, we want to go to this place. He's like, no. They close in an hour, but you have to buy tickets an hour before they close. And like kind of explain that to me, and I'm like, that doesn't sound right. Like, it's Thailand, they'll take the money. Like, they'll let us in if they're like closed. And he was like, no, we'll go to this other place. And I was like, I'll give you 40 baht if you tell me the truth. And he goes, they're open. So like, they're just trying to provide their families. Like, you really can't get mad at them, but you have to know, like look it up online, know the facts, know what you're doing, and then just be overly kind to them because they're just trying to provide for their family.
Yeah. You also can bargain with tuk-tuk drivers, so know that. Like, you'll get a good idea as you're here for a couple of days as to how much different rides cost and that kind of thing. So it is appropriate to bargain, but again, they are trying to make money for their families. So, as Americans, that's one way that we were able to bless people while we were here, is paying full price for tuk-tuk sometimes, or even just giving them an extra 20 baht at the end of the trip or something like that, just to make their day.
Yeah, and remember, if you're trying to save 100 baht, you're saving $3. Is it really worth that? Yeah. Like, it's not that big of a deal. So yeah. Okay, number 5, Thai people love children.
Oh yeah.
Like, they love kids. They absolutely love kids, and especially in my experience, they love little white girls. Like that's just,
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, like, but they all would just run up to our kids and be like, oh, baby, baby. And our kid's 4, like our youngest is 4, our middle is 6, and both of them just were superstars for the entire time that we were here. They'll have people calling out to them all day, talking to them. People will just randomly get behind them and like have their friend take pictures, and they're like, it's great. And honestly, we knew this, and we're very adventurous parents, I would say, like letting our kids do some stuff that a lot of parents wouldn't. But even for the first couple days for us, it was a little awkward. Like it was like, this just feels wrong, you know?
We had one guy that walked up to us like day 2 of being here and didn't ask us, didn't say anything to us, just like got on his phone and started FaceTiming with his wife and showing him our kids. And we were like, what is happening right now?
And we were already dealing with culture shock of being here for 2 days, and we're like, no, this is weird. So we taught our kids up front to smile and just wave and answer questions. But you know, our 4-year-old pretty often would just shut down and not talk, and that's okay. Like we're not pushing them so far out of their, you know, their comfort zone that it's gonna make them feel so uncomfortable that they hate being here. But also a part of that, with that enthusiasm, it goes beyond the boundaries of what we as Westerners would think is okay, to the point where people would actually pick up our kids and not like walk away, but walk enough steps that it didn't feel right and like take a picture. And it was totally fine for them. They were totally normal. This is what you do. For us, we kind of learned that there was a couple boundaries that we would set, and that was one of them. Of like, don't pick up our kids unless you ask, kind of thing. So I'd kind of like hold on to my daughter if they looked like they were gonna be one of those people. And then they'd say, can I take a picture? And if she said yes, then I would say yes, and we'd kind of stand around. Like, this is one of the safest places. Like, I feel safer in Thailand than I feel in America most of the time, honestly, in a lot of ways. So no one's gonna do anything probably, but also we were very, very cautious with our kids on that type of thing. Another little kind of pro tip of this is we put a tracker on all of our kids.
Yeah.
We bought the little Apple trackers. There's a link to them on Amazon in the description below. They're like $25, and you can get a little necklace for them or a watch. So Ben had one on his wrist, our 2 daughters had them around their necks. And that way, if they wandered off or if something did, God forbid, happen, we could look it up on our phone and get to them, you know, within 5 feet very quickly. So that also gave us just a lot of peace of mind in this whole thing.
And we did tell our kids about the trackers as well, so they knew that's what they were wearing.
We just put it under their skin.
No, but I think that's important.
Yeah.
I think that's really important though, because they felt safe because they knew that at any second we could look up exactly where they were on our phones.
That is true.
So they felt a lot more safe being here as well, and it just gave us peace of mind that I think we kind of needed as parents.
Yeah, so know what you're okay putting up with and know where your boundaries are, and that's okay. Like, it's okay, they're your kids, you can have those boundaries, but also realize that we are the ones who are weird here, not them. And us feeling awkward about people picking up our kids is a Western thing, not an Eastern thing. And you just need to know what's acceptable and what's not. And probably your level of acceptance will change as you're here, like it did us.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
All right, tip number 6 is this: culture shock. Culture shock is a real thing, and not just for adults. The reality is kids tend to handle things like this, honestly, much better than adults do.
Well, they're new to everything. The whole world is new to them.
Yeah, so all of life is a culture shock. You're likely going to be noticing as an adult all of the ways that Thailand is different from where you're from, and you might be kind of spiraling mentally or emotionally a little bit on that. Your kids are a lot more likely to just comment on all the things that are the same as where you're from. Like, oh, mom, look, they have cars too. They have McDonald's here too. Oh, there's a puppy. I have a puppy at home.
Don't touch the puppy.
Don't touch the puppy. Don't touch the dogs. Okay, bonus tip, don't touch the dogs. Most of them have diseases. They're super cute, but don't touch them. Just leave them alone.
They say that like 1 out of 10 dogs in Thailand have rabies, and it's probably way higher than that.
Probably so.
But really, like 9 out of 10 dogs are so cute. And it's so hard to not touch them, even for me, but okay.
That was a bonus tip. Back to our tip. Okay, so the reality is this is a really, really super healthy way to handle culture shock. So let your kids point out the things that are the same. Don't correct them, don't push them to think about what's different just like you are and spiral along with you. That doesn't help anyone. Just give them a day or two to settle before you start pointing out differences that you see with them. I'll also say, speaking of giving them a day or two, be careful about going to just overly crowded places on the very first day of your trip. You want to let your kids get a good night's sleep after being on a long flight and that kind of thing before you take them into like a big crowded Thai food market or something like that, which is what we did. We went to the Terminal 21 food court our first night here because it was right by our place that we were staying, and we're like, oh, that's easy, let's go. And it was massive, it was loud, it was crowded, it was really smelly, and everybody was overwhelmed.
Our heart was good. Like it was, we're here for 2 months. Let's jump into the culture. Let's not hold back. But it was just too much, and we really didn't want to be like the people that went to Thailand and went to McDonald's on day one or Burger King. Like we didn't want to be those people, but we should have been.
But
for the first night, we really should have kind of protected them a little bit to feel more comfortable.
Yeah, just ease into it, especially with kids. Depending on how old your kids are, that might shift as well. If they're younger, ease them into it a little bit more. And just kind of base it on the length of your trip. We're here for 2 months, so really we could have taken a lot longer to ease them in than we did. But if you're only here for a few days.
Longer than 12 minutes, really?
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's just us though. Like, we're not gonna, anyway. But take the time of your trip that you have and ease them into it.
Yeah. Okay, so number 7, this one might apply to you, it might not. Hold on for number 8 if the number 7 doesn't apply to you because this next one's really good. But number 7 is spiritual preparation. For us, we're Christians, our kids have this relationship with God, and church is just a part of who we are. We're at church all the time. Like, we love being a part of that community, and going from that kind of Western mode of that to a very different culture was just a different thing, and I don't know what you believe, but man, the spiritual world is absolutely real, and it really is just a hard thing to step into. And when you're in Bangkok, especially when you're in some of these temples, when you're in Ayutthaya for sure, there's just a different spiritual dynamic, and regardless of what you believe, I guarantee you this is different than where you're at, where you're from. And that does lead to kids being just really kind of rough and not knowing how to handle things. And it was just a hard thing for us to handle. And there were multiple times where just all of us as a family were kind of at each other's throats and just frustrated and really mad at each other and anxious. And we're like, this is what's happening. We need to take a step back and just kind of refocus and be like, okay, we're in a different culture. We need to be okay with this and work through this. So yeah, really quick, number 7. Number 8.
Number 8, prepare, it kind of goes along with that a little bit, but prepare your kids for cultural difference that are gonna make them feel uneasy. So things like, if you have little kids riding in a car without a car seat, you're not gonna find car seats pretty much anywhere, and nobody wears seat belts. Or taking public transportation if you're not used to that, or even just large crowds of everybody pushing up against you, or riding in a tuk-tuk, which tuk-tuks are super fun, but they're fast and they're crazy and they weave through the traffic and they don't have doors or windows on the cars.
Well, it's a motorcycle with a box on the back of it.
Yeah, and they drive like it's a motorcycle with a box on the back of it. So it's really, really fun. It's a good cultural experience, but just prepare your kids ahead of time so they don't panic in the moment. I would say we have a really good mixture of kids when it comes to this kind of thing. We have one kid who is overly cautious in everything, one kid who is really overly emotional in everything, and one kid that's just a little too carefree. So
when we were on the top of the building, so go to our Bangkok video, our top 10 things, our number 1 was the tallest building in Bangkok, this absolutely beautiful building. And we were up there at one point, and our youngest, Kaylee, goes, what would happen if I jump off of this? We're like, no! Why is it a question going through your head? So when she sees a tuk-tuk, she's like, ooh, and she just grabs on. She's like, go, 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 I can, no.
Little too carefree. So the reality is, we as parents had to handle each of them very differently and be very aware of that. So like with our son, who's overly cautious, right? We had to give him small bits of safety to hold on to. So like when we got into a tuk-tuk, sitting him either in the middle between us so he felt more safe, or sitting him on the side where he could hold on. With our littlest, most fearless one, we've had to constantly remind her that not everything here is safe. So like, there are stairways with no railings. All of the steps are different sizes, so she tripped and fell on them all the time. Really what we had to do with her, and she's our youngest as well, but one of us was basically just assigned to Kaylee at all times. So we could keep her safe and make sure she was aware of what was happening around her.
And the sidewalks are so uneven. If we're walking, one of us is holding her hand, because 3 times a day she would face plant if we weren't holding her hand. So we just got in the habit of just, when she falls, we just pick her up and fling her, and it's this big game,
Keep
and
walking.
yeah, we just keep going. So.
So with our emotionally charged middle child, we had to really just kind of pay close attention to how things felt to her, not how things actually were in the moment. So this is everything from seeing something familiar that just made her homesick and then she would emotionally spiral, to even being in the Buddhist temples. She was the one who I think was probably affected the most spiritually in a really strong way from being in those Buddhist temples, just because she's so emotional and feels things deeply anyways.
Honestly though, in a good note for her and just in general, like she's kind of a good litmus test for us and how we're actually doing.
Yeah.
Because if she starts crashing, we're like, oh, we're pushing through, we need to stop, we need to get food or whatever. So really that's part of being a family, is you each have your own like pros and cons, that's not what I'm trying to say, strengths and weaknesses, and work on each other's strengths, work on each other's weaknesses, and just know who you are as a family, and you can have a really great time.
Yeah, and I will say, we've been here for 2 months now, and we were actually just yesterday watching some of our videos from the very first few days we were here in Bangkok, and our kids have grown so much being here, which is really great to see. Another kind of random tip on kids here that I'll throw into this, this same section is, if you're potty training your kids, don't come to Thailand. Like, just don't. Like, there are very rarely toilets anywhere. And when you do find them, sometimes you have to pay for them. Most of the time, they're not clean. Our girls didn't like that. There's spiders in here.
There's a spider in every bathroom. It started with, oh, there's a spider in this bathroom. And we're like, why don't you count how many there are and how far away from you? Like,
yeah.
you just have to do that. That's what
why
it
don't we
is.
name the spiders while we're in here? Fun things like that.
And when I say kids, I mean me.
But also, toilet paper is not a thing here, so
You can't flush it.
you can't flush it, and so especially in public bathrooms, a lot of times it's just not even there. So our kids were like, "What is this?" If you're potty training, just wait until you're done potty training, or put them in pull-ups.
Yeah, I was gonna say, just assume that you're gonna have to put that potty training on hold for the little bit of time that you're here, and just wear diapers, and it is what it is. It's also hard to find diapers and things like that. So nighttime diapers were a thing that we needed, and they're just very hard to find. So
We need
brought
it for
them
our
with
kids.
us. Yeah. Thanks for that clarification. Gosh, see what I'm dealing with here?
But one tip there, if you do need a bathroom and you're out in public, go to a temple. The temples pretty much always have bathrooms, and most of the time they're free, and they're happy for you to come in and use them anytime. So go to a temple.
If they do cost money, especially in Bangkok, they cost money. Outside of that, they usually don't. But keep some coins in your pocket, because they're not a big fan of breaking 100 for a 5 baht.
Yeah, keep a lot of 5 baht coins. That'll be helpful.
Number 9, things to bring. Coming to Thailand, you're going to assume probably that this store has this and this store has that. Just assume that everything that you need, you can't get. There's a lot of things here that you can get that we can't get in the US, or it's way harder. If you go to a pharmacy, man, you can buy out the whole pharmacy for less than a pack of Band-Aids costs in the US. But for the most part, you need to bring some stuff. And one thing that we would suggest heavily to bring if you're here, especially for a longer period of time, is car seats. You cannot buy car seats in Thailand that we've found. It's
Or
just,
booster seats.
and even then they would be huge. It just wouldn't be worth it. We rented a car, but we're still glad we brought car seats with us. We found these awesome car seats that fold up into a little taco, and they fit in the kids' backpack. So our kids brought their own car seat in their backpack on the plane. Even our 4-year-old, that's how light and small these things are. There's a link in the description below to the Amazon link for that. Definitely get those, they helped us a ton. We also bought these awesome blankets that are linked below too, that are actually travel towels. So they worked for us at the beach, and they worked for us at Airbnbs that only had 1 towel, and there were 5 of us. But these blanket towel things were great. So they were stuffed in their backpacks on the way here for the plane ride. So for me, it would like barely cover me. Like, they're not massive. But for the kids, it was like this massive blanket that they got to carry with them. They're super light, they keep them warm, but they're also a towel. It was the best thing that we did. Also, a small backpack is huge. It's really hard to find a small backpack that actually carries some weight. So look on Amazon, there's some good options there. We have a rule with our kids that if you're going to have it, you're going to carry it, even for our 4-year-old, and she's more than capable. We don't need to, baby our kids. Obviously, if your kid's 1, they can't carry themselves. But carry your own water bottle was a big thing for us, because otherwise you're going to be stopping 20 times a day to buy a bottle of water, and then there are no trash cans anywhere in Thailand.
Yeah, nowhere.
It is impossible to find trash cans. So refillable water bottles are the key. Get one big bottle at a 7-Eleven to fill everyone's up and throw it away at the 7-Eleven, and you're good to go. We also have these really cool water bottles called Lark water bottles that are pretty expensive, but they're really cool. They have a little UV light in the top, so it'll purify the water. And I've used that in a ton of different countries, so you can actually drink tap water, which you don't want to do normally in Thailand. So you just fill it up with tap water, run this thing for a minute or 3 minutes for the heavy duty one if you're scared. But it kills 99.99999% of everything in it, and you can drink that water. Bring basic medical supplies like Band-Aids and Neosporin and cough medicine and all that. Allergy medicine is a big deal. She needed allergy medicine all the time, you never know. There's so many differences about how things happen in this country, and if you want those things, you just have to bring them. So
most of those things you probably could find here, but it's different from being, we're from America where you can go to one store and get all of those things. Here, you would have to go to 20 different stores to get all those things we just mentioned. So it just takes a lot of time that you want to spend with your family. You want to spend experiencing the culture. You don't want to be chasing around looking to try to find Band-Aids somewhere.
So, don't overpack. Don't bring a giant, like the first aid kit where you can stop a bullet hole wound. No, that's not what we're talking about. We're saying just pack a little bit of stuff with you. Another thing too, just with the car seats, you'll see babies on motorbikes all the time. It was one of my favorite cultural experiences, seeing this tiny little moped thing with a mom and a dad and a big kid in the front and a kid strapped on the lady's back with a baby squished between the parents. They're all the time we were like, there's one, get the camera, and it's so hard to video, but man, it's hilarious. It's
especially right around 3 o'clock when school lets out and all the parents go to the schools to pick up their kids on motorbikes, and you have 4 or 5 kids on one motorbike with a parent. It's just really funny.
And people that ride these motorbikes going 70 miles an hour down the road in sandals. There's a lot of safety things that concern me as a Westerner, but they're totally fine with. So they're actually in a process right now of making a law for kids under 3 to have to wear some kind of a seatbelt. That's the level we're at right now. Yeah, probably not on a motorbike. Yeah. So we found those booster seats. Definitely get those booster seats. We'd recommend that. Little things just like when you get into a Grab car. The Grab is kind of like Uber in the US. We found that the best way to do it was to put one adult in the front with their backpack, and then have our big kid with our medium kid, and then our little kid we would keep in the lap of an adult in the back, because there's just no way to get around to some of these places without doing some of that stuff. So just know there's gonna be some things that make you feel a little uncomfortable. Have a plan ready, because the driver of that car is gonna have no idea why you're nervous about it. Yeah. They just won't get it.
And they're just gonna take off. As soon as you're in the car, the driver's gonna take off.
Yeah.
All right, tip number 10, our final tip, again, in no particular order, but just our final tip that we have here is prepare your kids ahead of time for walking. And walking a whole lot. Go for family walks before you travel. Teach them to watch their step as they're walking. Thai sidewalks and Thai roads.
The concrete just
kind of like this, and then just are non-existent. And then you come back. They're treacherous. They're kind of rough terrain, I would say. Yeah. And they're also very, very dirty. So we made sure that our kids were wearing closed-toed shoes as much as possible. Sometimes they wore sandals, but for the most part, closed-toed shoes, just in walking on the streets, because otherwise, the first couple of days, our kids had so many cuts and bruises and things on the ends of their toes from tripping and falling. Prepare your kids for walking. Prepare their legs for walking a lot, so that you don't end up having to carry your kids everywhere you go, because that's super lame.
On that same kind of note, I get now why Asian cultures take off shoes before they come inside. I never really understood that, and I grew up in an area that was primarily Asian, actually in California. But I totally get it now because the sidewalks aren't cleaned or anything like that, and they have no reason why you would clean a sidewalk. It's a sidewalk, which makes sense, honestly.
Yeah.
So shoes are filthy. One thing that we learned is that our kids, when they get tired, sit wherever they are.
Yeah,
and
just sit down on the ground. What are you doing?
Which now that I think about it, it's something that they do at home too, but it doesn't matter there because if you're in Target and they sit down in the cart, great. Or if they sit down on the side of the road, it's just not that big of a deal in the US. But when everything's filthy and there's just stuff around, and that's not to shame Thailand at all. We love Thailand. It's just different. It's just different from where we're at. So have a conversation with your kid about walking and not just sitting anywhere. You know, we can pick them up and give them a rest, or we can all go sit down and get a smoothie for $1.
Get a smoothie, they're so good. Have we said enough how good the smoothie? Tip number 11 is drink smoothies because they're...
So yeah, just prepare your kids for walking, for having a good attitude no matter what happens. Also, make sure you remember that they're kids. We push our kids hard and we want them to have good experiences. We want them to experience all these incredible things and look back on this for the rest of their lives, but they're also kids.
Sometimes you just need to go to McDonald's or find a playground and just let them run wild, or whatever it is that they need. So pay attention to your kids, do what they need.
Or get a kid, each of our kids, the smoothie that they like the most. Our kids also drink coffee. Not a ton of coffee, but they drink parts of our coffee, like little bits of it. So just like letting them choose one and share between the three of them and not drinking the whole thing or doing anything unhealthy, but just little things like that to let them have some ownership over it, I think were really big for us. So
hopefully you've really enjoyed these tips. I'm sure there are more tips. Maybe you've traveled to Thailand with your kids and you have some tips you want to add. If so, do so in the comments. That would be great. We would
get a conversation going for people who are coming after you.
Yeah, I know for us as parents coming to Thailand, we were very excited about coming. We had done lots of preparation ahead of time and that kind of thing. But the whole kid front, we really were just we don't know what we need or what we don't need. So something like this could be really helpful for another family traveling to a country like this. So leave some comments below, like and subscribe if you enjoy this. And I know I mentioned this at the beginning, but we do have another video that goes along with this one that is our top 10 things to do with kids as a family in Bangkok. So if you're going specifically to Bangkok, check out that travel video. You'll see some awesome things you can do with your kids.
We also have things with our kids like traveling to the top of the highest mountain in Thailand and going to temples in the mountains and the night safari and the zoo and downtown Chiang Mai and Chiang Rai and the Golden Triangle and Costa. We've got a ton of different things with our kids. So I would just suggest, like we were saying, watch all those videos with your kids. Let them get to experience what it's like to see what Thailand is, so that they can be like, I saw that on the video, we got to see this cool thing. Man, we know that we will remember this trip for the rest of our lives. And I really think they will too. Our 9-year-old for sure, our 6-year-old definitely will. I genuinely even think though, that our 4-year-old had so much of the time of her life, she'll remember this. So
she'll at least remember what's in the videos.
That's true. So video it too. Put it on Facebook and send us the link. We'll put it in the description of this one for you. But again, let me say too, ask questions in the comments below. No question is too dumb or anything like that. You might be thinking, I just want to ask this very specific question. If we don't know, we'll try to get you to somebody that does. But there are just so many unknowns about bringing your kids to a foreign country, especially Thailand. That's a very foreign country to us as Westerners. So ask whatever question you have and we'll try and help you however we can. But yeah, like she said, like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching this video. Check out our Bangkok one next and we will see you in another video.
That should...
Who needs fancy slide transition?
Future Yale, make that the transition between everything. You did it again. It's recording and you're still doing it.
I'm the editor.
If you film them, you kill them too.
Still trying to talk her out of jumping?
Yes, I'm trying to talk her out of jumping. She is seriously well, what if somebody caught me?
No one's gonna catch you. It would not end well. Stay with us.